Steppin Out is made possible in part by Susie and Pierre G. Villery.
With a lifetime of passion for public television, we're pleased to help underwrite Steppin Out.
Please join us in supporting WYES TV.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation promotes, preserves, and perpetuates music, culture, and heritage through programs, cultural, educational, and economic activities year-round. Learn more at jazzandheritage.org.
I'm Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to Steppin Out, with updates from the local restaurant, arts, and entertainment scenes. Joining me, Poppy Tooker, host of Louisiana Eats on WWNO Radio. Hey, Miss Poppy.
Hello, Peg.
Hello. Doug MacCash, who covers the local arts and culture scenes for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune and the New Orleans Advocate. Howdy, Doug. Hello.
How are you?
And also with us, of course, Alan Smason, editor of the Crescent City Jewish News and theatercriticism.com. Hey, Alan. And Poppy Magazine Street is home to a snazzy Italian restaurant.
Oh, it's very snazzy, Miss Peg. So we're talking about the San Lorenzo, which is in the Hotel St. Vincent. If you haven't gone into the Hotel St. Vincent, you're really missing it because there are two bars. The atmosphere is beautiful, but oh my goodness, the food at San Lorenzo. Everywhere I go, I order octopus if it's on the menu. Hands down, the grilled octopus with the aioli and a green olive pesto and fried leeks was the best I ever ate. Now, here we have a salad that's an arugula with shaved Parmesan. The salads are really big enough to share, and oh my goodness, the Caesar salad, again, one of the best I've ever eaten in New Orleans. But my favorite might be this showstopper, squid ink chitara with lump crab, sea urchin. You can just see that little bit of golden sea urchin at the top, and jalapenos. When you mix that all up together, the sea urchin, which is raw, becomes sort of unctuously cooked, and it is pretty fabulous. The scampi Milanese risotto. Ooh. What a special dish that was. Ooh. And then rack of lamb, perfectly executed. This is some of the best food I've eaten in New Orleans, and don't miss the sides. The crispy marbled potatoes are out of this world, and the grilled cauliflower with golden raisins and pistachios, woo! And of course, there's a beautiful little tart that we had for dessert. Now, it's open 7 days a week. There's half-off bottles of wine on Mondays, but they're open at the Hotel St. Vincent, the San Lorenzo is, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So there's fine dining opportunities all day, all night, and it is at fine dining prices. So it's perfectly delicious, and you pay for what you get.
That's right. And Poppy, you told me earlier there is off-street parking.
Oh, there's off-street parking, plenty of it. It's
well, if you're on Magazine
there.
Street, you have to be mindful of those things, right? Okay, thank you so much. And moving over to Doug, that Josh Wingirter just keeps on going out in the streets, huh?
Yes, indeed. You probably remember Josh Wingirter. He's a marvelous graffiti muralist, and he became famous during COVID, during the quarantine, when he painted a gallery of murals related to the pandemic on Frenchman Street. It was something to do when there was nothing to do, and it was safe. You could go down there and look. Well, his sense of context is shining again right now with a couple of new pieces. And the first is a comedy. The first depicts the beloved parking lot denizens, Jay and Silent Bob, from the 1994 cult movie Clerks. Jay and Silent Bob hung out beside a seemingly closed convenience store. And Josh Wingirter explained that when he saw an actual closed convenience store in Westwego, he knew he had to do Jay and Silent Bob. Here he places them outside an actual closed convenience store near the UEP Long Bridge. And it's just terrific. When I visited, there were people making a pilgrimage over to Westwego to get a look. His other piece is more subversive, and it is on the 300 block of Bourbon Street, and he debates the presumption that graffiti is killing the city. He suggests, obviously, that it might be something else. Again, the site is so important to this. He places it inside of that neoclassic framework, inside of the framework of New Orleans. Josh says he always tries to paint on the plywood that covers the architecture, not the architecture itself.
He has his own space now, doesn't he, in downtown?
He does. He has
Westwego?
He has a gallery in Westwego. I went and visited. It's beautiful, wonderful, very energetic, worth the trip.
I was looking at his website, which is very well done, and his work is reasonably priced too. So that's good news.
Yeah, he does studio work that you can take home, but in my opinion, anyway, he's never better than when he's out finding the right place to put it on the street.
Got it. Thank you. And moving over to Ellen.
Well, Peggy, since the 1980s, Jill Connor Brown has been leading a group of ladies for the annual St. Patrick's Day Parade in Jackson, Mississippi. And the first time that they paraded, they were on the back of a sweet potato truck, so therefore they became known as the Sweet Potato Queens. and their story is told in a musical now playing at Teatro Wego. Jill's story is recounted, and it's told with a lot of love, and I have to say, Crystal Gem, who you see there, stars as Jill. She has a wonderful voice. Singing the songs were written by Melissa Manchester with lyrics by Sharon Vaughn, who wrote My Heroes Have Always Been Cowboys. Keanne Davis is one of 5 directors this season for JPAS. She directs this charming work written by Rupert Holmes, who you may remember from the Pina Colada Escape song, but also a very big piece on Broadway, The Mystery of Edwin Drood. The other characters are all named Tammy. There's Lena Gunn as Too Much Tammy, who loves to eat. There's Rachel Knapp as Flower Tammy, who's covering up her abusing husband. And then there's Melissa McKenzie as Floozy Tammy, who, like Will Rogers, never met a man she didn't like. Also, those pink boas on the left, there's one that you can see there that's covering up Tom Vaughn as George, whose very sedate life is upturned when he becomes one of the girls and lets his hair down, so to speak. Now, the Tammys have a TV cooking show where they demonstrate how to make funeral food, and you can see how they're all SPQ-tiful. And again, Shelby Wynn and Joey Dowd will also play Jill's parents. Scott Sauber plays Jill's lazy, philandering husband, Tyler. He's pretty sleazy and has very few redeeming values, unlike the real Scott. This is a show that really emphasizes, though, female empowerment and shows how they survive abuse, poor self-image, bad marriages, all to emerge triumphant in their support of one another. And here I am with the boss queen herself, Jill Connor Brown. Jill's decked out in boas and sequins. She encourages you all to go and dress up, bring your own pink boas, and have fun with this wonderful little show playing now at Teatro Wego. Now, by the way, next weekend for the final performances, Melissa Manchester, the composer, and Sharon Vaughn, the lyricist, will be down to witness the show for themselves. Jill Connor Brown comes every night. I urge you all to get tickets now because it's bound to be sold out. Across the river, uptown, Peggy, on the Loyola University campus, there's still a few seats left for Derek Walcott's Pantomime being presented by Crescent City Stage. I have to tell you, this 2-man play that stars 2 Michaels, Michael Newcomer, who you see there as Harry True, also serves, by the way, as the executive director of the company, and Michael C. Forrest as Jackson Phillip, his servant and a former actor actor in the play. Now, this was one of the best New Orleans productions for drama that I've seen in some time. It raises questions about race and social standing as Harry True tries to enlist Jackson to portray the characters in Robinson Crusoe, but in reverse. Michael Forrest employs a very true Caribbean accent, as one would from Trinidad or Tobago, where this is set, and it takes place not so very long ago. Derek Walcott wrote this play kind of to make comments about how the white elitist class left over from colonial times interacted with the black servant class and how the stigma of class standing permeated that culture. It's a 90-minute play. It will really make you think, and lots of amazing work by both actors. It's directed by John Ray Proctor, who's part of the faculty over at Tulane University's theater department right next door, playing at Marquette Theater through Sunday. Check it out, Crescent City Stage.
Thank you so much, Alan. And last week, we lost a very beloved pioneer in New Orleans television and radio history, Jan Carr. She and her husband, Bob, were long a part of WDSU-TV's midday show in the 60s and up into the early 70s. But before that, they did Second Cup on the top of the then brand new Royal Orleans Hotel. Here's a clip from Second Cup.
I'm Bob.
And I'm Jan, and we're the Carrs.
Both legally and happily at home and
here on the magnificent roof of the Royal Orleans Hotel. Good morning now, thank you. We're here Monday through Friday, 9 to 9:30, up here on the roof of the Royal Orleans Hotel.
we're in New Orleans now, but we're natives of Cleveland, both.
But really, we call New Orleans our home, and we hope for a long, long time to come.
We're second cupping with New Orleanians now, and each morning it's a real fun show. We have fun kicking around a topic each day, kind of from a husband and wife's point of view.
We really talk over our second cup of coffee, just as we feel couples all over the city are doing. We talk about such things as Khrushchev or the Megatons or, well, maybe the mayor and the street repairs or the children who maybe have the measles at that particular time.
And then, of course, comes Ed Planer with the news, and Ed's a very talented newscaster. The pace begins to quicken when we have a visiting dignitary, possibly, to New Orleans, or maybe some prominent citizen of our city. And, of course, we do films, too, of our city very often. We also have the fine singing of the talented Kay Carmen.
You know, Second Cup really moves at a brisk pace, and the pace quickens, and we think that it should because we want to maintain interest and entertainment.
We're the Carrs. I'm Bob.
And I'm Jan, and we're here Monday through Friday on the fabulous roof of the Royal Orleans Hotel. And we're here 9 to 9:30 on WDSU-TV. That's Channel 6 in New Orleans. And remember, New Orleans is the most interesting city.
What a dear, dear lady. Jan and Bob have 4 children, and Jan and Bob were also on WGSO Radio and wrote for Prime Magazine. Services will be held Friday, September 30th at Christ Church Cathedral. That's on St. Charles Avenue. 10 a.m. visitation and 11 a.m. services. And what she's going to be so missed. What a sweet, sweet lady. Yeah. Over to Poppy.
Well, down in the Bywater, there's a spot everybody should visit, the Bywater Brew Pub. Now, this is a brew pub where all the beer you drink is made right there on premise. It's a New Orleans retired attorney named Nahum Leventhal and his son Dylan. This is what he decided to do in his retirement. They have 12 beers on tap all the time. And for instance, right now you can get Frankenstein, the Oktoberfest ale. But the big thing, for me at least, is the incredible food that is all being cooked by Anne Lou, who she made a name for herself in Viet Cajun cuisine when she was out in Portland. These are her shrimp cups, and that's a sweet chili shrimp remoulade served on top. She serves crawfish etouffee nachos. These are Anne Lou's wings. Ooh. They're sweet and sticky with a bamboo slaw. They're fabulous. There's Forito. There's, of course, burgers, fries, and cracklins, but oh my goodness, the beer beignets. The beignet dough is made with some beer. It has this yeasty flavor that's wonderful, served with a chicory condensed milk for dipping. Oh. During Saints games, there's $16 pitchers and $10 wings. But the big news is, on Thursday, September 29th, Anne Lou is cooking a Vietnamese-style family meal, and this is going to be a series. It's going to be fantastic. So grab a ticket and don't miss that event. And speaking of don't miss, if those beignets put you in the mood, well, it's Beignet Fest on Saturday from 10 to 6. There's 16 different beignet vendors serving this year, and it's always a good time. So just another bit of fun New Orleans is back, Beignet Fest.
And lots of music, too. Thank you, Poppy. And going back over to Doug with a new photography exhibit.
Yeah, there's a terrific show on the ground floor of the New Orleans Museum of Art these days. It's called Call to the Camera, where curator Brian Piper has spent 5 years assembling 250 or more photographs that were done by black photographers from the beginning of photography in the 1840s to the present. The interesting thing is these were not art photographs. These are studio photographs. This is portraits like this one, wedding photos, family portraits, the sort of ordinary photography that typified photography, and there it is in an art museum. One of the great things about this is it tells you that the camera sees everyone the same in a way. The enslaved, segregated, it sees them the same, just as it does the wealthy and elite. That's part of the theme of this show. This photograph here is from Xavier University in the 1920s, and what's interesting is Bedoux, the photographer, was known for his very still, very composed photographs, and here he is mastering the art of capturing motion. That's the football hovering in the foreground. Isn't that a wonderful picture?
Boy, is it? Yeah.
You go on and find things like the Smith Brothers studios from the 1940s. And once again, as Piper explained, there's a sense of normalcy here, just exactly as you'd expect in a photo studio. Although, as he pointed out, these images might not have readily appeared in white publications and institutions. So once again, the sub-theme of the exhibit is placing these in the context of the museum. There's one of the Smith brothers photographing himself doing a painted portrait. And this is Polo Silk, the photographer Polo Silk, who documented hip-hop and the bounce scene in New Orleans in the 1990s. And he has a separate show at NOMA, which is a collection of these photographs. And it's a wonderful visit. Give yourself plenty of time. It takes a long time to look at 250 photographs, and they're worth it. You walk around and you just become lost in the exhibit. It's fabulous.
Thank you, Doug. And I'm so glad there is local representation, because to see the Bedoux of photographs, and locals need to know more about Mr. Bedoux, who was very prominent in New Orleans, and also Ms. Perrault, who was one of the rare female photographers too. So it's very special, but you're right, that is a huge show. So take
and
your
it's
time.
Terrific. It's
and
worth
it's a great
your time.
restaurant. You can go eat and then come back and keep looking at the photos too. All right, Doug, thank you very much. Moving you back over to Alan.
Well, this coming week, we have the privilege of seeing two production numbers, if you will, two productions, showings of the Barber of Seville, Rosini's great work, and of course the New Orleans Opera Association is presenting it. I wanted to show you the exterior and the interior shots here of the Barber of Seville. These are beautiful pieces, and again, this is being set in New Orleans. So if you're seeing, the exterior here, that's New Orleans. You can see it right there, And again, so they've reset everything for here, and I really want to encourage all of our opera aficionados to join in the splendor of this Rosina opera. Now, check out the leads. If you don't know, John Moore is going to be playing Figaro. Now, he's the barber, of course, and he has that famous aria, Largo al Factotum. Then, of course, there's Raven McMillon, who plays Rosina, the love interest, and then Matthew Swenson will play the conniving Count Almaviva. The Barber of Seville plays next Friday, and then, of course, next Sunday, 7:30 on Friday and then 2:30 on Sunday at the Mahalia Jackson Theater for the Performing Arts. And I have it on good authority that many tickets are still available. As a matter of fact, Peggy, they're not using the balcony. Ticket sales have been not really great, so it's a shame. We really need to support the opera. It is very important. This is the first city of opera, and so please, let's fill up the bottom at least, and let's make everybody feel like they're really having a great experience all together. That's the Barber of Seville, and again, it's going to be on Friday and Sunday coming up. Finally, I want to go over a couple of little productions at some of the universities. They're finally starting to break out some of their theater now. And first of all, Drew Stroud is in a one-man show, which we may have seen before, called Fully Committed, in which he does over 40 characters at UNO. It's playing currently, and it's going to continue through October the 1st. And again, he actually worked on an online reading that I produced during the pandemic. He should be really good in this, and it's his master's thesis for his MFA at UNO. And after the play is over this Sunday, I should mention that there will be an additional reading. So if you forego the Saints, you'll actually have some extended theater. You'll be able to see Fully Committed and another reading right afterwards on the UNO campus. And then across town on the Tulane campus, Jessica Podwell is preparing to direct an all-female cast of characters that are called, it's in a play that is by Alexis Shear, was on Broadway in 2019 called Our Dear Dead Drug Lord. And it's essentially the 6 characters are all young ladies who are summoning up the ghost, if you will, of Pablo Escobar, the drug kingpin who was killed in a shootout back in the early 1990s. But it's very interesting, and I think it's a commentary on female sisterhood, if you will, and some of the things that they do to one another. So check that out again at Tulane.
All right, thank you. Now time for our picks of the week. Poppy.
Well, here's some restaurant news. Sobu in the W Hotel in the French Quarter is no more. Now the restaurant is called the Third Block Depot, and they are kicking off a monthly courtyard supper club Thursday, October 6th. I'm mentioning now because it's limited to just 12 guests. It's going to be a very special experience with 5 courses and wine pairings.
All right, thank you. Doug.
Well, I have 2. For sheer beauty, find yourself down at the Octavia Gallery for an exhibit of works by Erica Larkin Godet and Mitchell Godet. They're a husband and wife sculpture team, and they're showing their works together, maybe for the first time as a dual show. And it's lovely. You'll certainly like it all. That is an Erica Larkin piece in the foreground made of folded copper, and just beautiful.
And that gallery is really, it's now very well situated, and it's been up and at 'em for quite a few years. God bless them, huh?
Just off of Julius Street, a block away.
Very good, thank you. And Alan.
Well, he's going to be shocked that I'm mentioning him, but Jose Torres Tama, his one-man show is coming up, and I don't want people to forget, it's going to be at the Ashe Cultural Center. It's called the United States of Amnesia, and it's part of Hispanic Heritage Month over at the Ashe. So check it out again this Friday and Saturday coming up. It's written and performed by Jose, who's part performance artist and part social activist. Tickets are available through the Ashe website, and I'll see you at El Teatro.
Thank you, and he's also a visual artist too. He's a talented guy. Thank you. And next Tuesday, WYES will present a documentary on Dr. Norman C. Francis, who led Xavier University for almost 50 years and is an ardent community activist. Narrated by Sally Ann Roberts, here's a preview.
He's always been a shining light in this city. He's the kind of man that every city needs. Thank God we've had him.
He embodies all of it, strategically, logically, rationally, how to deal with difficult situations.
I always knew Norman Francis was destined for something big because he was smart. He was courageous.
Norman Francis represents all that is good about bringing people together, caring about people across racial lines.
If you want to understand a life well spent and making a difference in the world, Norman Francis is a man you ought to look at. How he grew up, where he grew up, what he made of his own life, but most importantly, what he did for others.
I think his instincts, his skill set, his ability to lead really places him in a category of being one of America's greatest contemporary leaders.
And Dr. Norman C. Francis, A Legacy of Leadership, will be shown on WYES and live streamed at the same time at WYES.org. And that is next Tuesday at 8 p.m. We're so excited. It was produced by Tong Trong and filmed and edited by Lenny Delbert, and Diane Butler is also associate producer. Now my picks, still time to check out the WYES Gala online auction at WYES.org. Trips, restaurant gift certificates, cookbooks by Poppy Tooker, and a basket of New Orleans history books and videos by my husband Errol and me. Bidding ends Sunday evening at 9 p.m. And the Carton International Circus, complete with elephants, will be performing starting Friday at the Pontchartrain Center and continuing through Sunday. Go to spectacularcircus.com for tickets, or the box office 1 hour before showtime. Louisiana Poet Laureate and Steppin Out guest recently, Mona Lisa Saloy. Absolutely, she's such a joy. And she is going to be signing books at Melba's Poor Boys, and her latest book of poetry. That's Saturday from noon, and they're giving away free copies of it there. 1525 Elysian Fields Avenue. Also on Saturday at 3 p.m. at the Music Box Village on North Rampart Street, right next to the Industrial Canal, there will be a brass band competition in which bands will perform traditional brass band tunes and then play with a hip-hop artist. Prizes will be awarded, and the $5 entry fee goes to nonprofits supporting local music. On Sunday, the historic BK House and Gardens presents Mahmoud Chouki Trio, which will include Oscar Rossignol and Martin Mazakowski. And Monday at 6:30, Jason Berry will be showing his documentary, City of a Million Dreams, focusing on brass band traditions and second lines at the New Orleans Jazz Museum, how appropriate, at the Mint on Esplanade Avenue. And that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Good night.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation promotes, preserves, and perpetuates music, culture, and heritage through programs, cultural, educational, and economic activities year-round. Learn more at jazzandheritage.org. Steppin Out is made possible in part by Susie and Pierre G. Villery.
With a lifetime of passion for public television, we're pleased to help underwrite Steppin Out.
Please join us in supporting WYES TV.